familiar with many of them because of their widespread occurrence around us. So here itself you can see some of the prominent ones, starting from aquatic system. Salvinia is the Cariba weed, then Singapore daisy, then Eichhornia crassipus or water hyacinth, lantana, then Limnocaris flava, then Kabomba furcata, and this is Mycenia microrantha. So you can see that how beautiful many of them are, and that is why most of the time why they are here. So we will see a brief introduction about them and some of the management measures also I can tell you based on works conducted in our center at KU. So here you can see this is a left hand side, this is a rubber plantation invaded by a ornamental plant syngonium. So you see that many of the introductions are for ornamental purpose, which later become a threat to our agricultural crops. So this is this plant, an evergreen ornamental in our garden, when thrown out, can invade this shaded area. It prefers shade. So their habitat, they will multiply in their habitat and will pose. Then see, this is a lowland cultivation in coal. In Thrissur district, in the morning we were talking about below mean sea level cultivation, and as in the case of people go to study about this, the below mean sea level cultivation in Netherlands and all, room for river and all. But in Kerala itself, we have typical example where this is age-old traditional agriculture practice where people drain the field and the water is pumped out to the mean sea level in special canals with strong bunds, and the land is prepared for cultivation. And this system, you can see that almost 6 months the land is underwater because we have plenty of rain in southwest monsoon, and 6 months it is flooded system. We have aquatic weeds, full of aquatic weeds, and removal of these weeds is a hectic operation which adds to the cost of cultivation of rice. And here you see, this is a recent problem reported in Kerala. Earlier, Salvinia was restricted to aquatic bodies alone. Now, in most of the majority of the areas where we find this, you see a rice field transplanted crop fully invaded by Salvinia because the drainage is improper and the weeds happen to be in this area where the water is there, and after the transplantation again it gets plenty of space to multiply, and it physically hinders the rice growth. Tillering is affected, and you can see how the crop stand is, and no other weed will come up because it will smother the entire area. So this is the situation in agricultural ecosystems with weeds. So as in the case of crop, we say that these are alien weeds, but we have many aliens here because of the Columbian exchange which happened, because of which most of our crops, you can see that all these crops are our economically important crops. They are aliens, but not invasive. So starting from this, you see common vegetables are there, and pineapple, cocoa, vanilla, tomato, potato, and other economically important plantation crops like coffee, rubber, even tuber crop, tapioca, all are introduced crop. But so while introducing by introduction of these crops, we have economic benefits, but introduction of these weeds are threat to our economy as well as human health. And majority of the weeds are also, some are having noxious status also. Then why these weeds proliferate in our region? You see that they all, as in the case of India, these introduced, majority of the species are introduced from this South American, this belt, or from Africa. So they all lie in the tropical belt. So the conditions, climatic condition here and in the here are similar to that in India. So for them, This is a new place with the same climatic condition, but without any natural enemies or pests, so that they can multiply. So this is again a list of some of the alien species, and our invasive aliens are different. These are alien crops, now naturalized, and we now think this is our own crops. Okay, so invasive aliens are different. So how do they come here? So for a species to become invasive, they have to overcome some of the barriers. So there are four types of barriers that an invasive species has to overcome. One is the large scale geographical barriers. So nowadays this is very easy to cross the geographical barriers because of movement of people across continents, isn't it? Nowadays, if I want to visit some other continent, I can book immediately ticket and go. So that the travel, air travel is so common and very frequent and cheap that people move here and there, by which the invasions are also increasing. And human are the main cause of this introduction of the invasive species. And the survival barrier. Once a species across the geographical barrier, then comes the survival barrier. So if it is able to survive, a new plant species, if it is able to survive, then it establishes, and then its reproductive barriers it will overcome. And if these four steps are successfully passed, it become an invasive alien. So in the case of the dispersal and spread is also very important in the case of invasive. So these are the steps explained further. That is, one is the transport, and some of the species get established. There is a 10% rule of the total 10% in each step. Only at the last step, only 10% of the introduced ones successfully get naturalized. So transport and introduction, then comes the establishment, then it colonizes. So for colonizing, the most important property of biotic and abiotic stress resistance is important. So most of these species have all sorts of adaptations that they able to multiply and ramify. Then once they colonize, they are able to spread. And then in the last stage, you can see that when when its species spread to a lot of, if it become a major species in a particular ecosystem or an area, then sometimes it get naturalized also. A species when naturalized, we see that there are many pests or enemies in the locality itself which attack it, and it again will not become a major weed. It will not, because there are some pests or diseases in the local area after many years of existence, and the weed can sometimes lose its status as an invasive also. So some of the, for a typical example is in Eupatorium, Chromalina odorata in Kerala. It was highly invasive. Now it's almost become naturalized. You can see the natural enemies both released, mainly released enemies because of our scientific interventions of integrated weed management. Okay. So these are the some of the terminologies that you can, then in the case of alien weed, some are invasive weeds, some are designated as quarantine weeds because they should pass the, we have quarantine stations. So they will check in the quarantine, some are designated as quarantine weeds. So when its presence is noted, it is not that that lot is, for example, in container, lots of wheat or some other food items will come. If some quarantine weeds are detected, that consignment is not valid. It will not be permitted to enter the country. Then some of the alien weeds are designated as noxious weed. Noxious weeds are weeds that are having some economic implications and human health. They cause some human health issues, and Parthenium is a major noxious weed, declared as noxious weed in India. And this I already said, some are naturalized, and And some weeds which are introduced, alien weeds, some are designated as a sleeper weeds because for years it will have the status of a sleeper. It just sleeps, will not make major threat. You will see only few population, but once a suitable condition arises, they get the invasive status. So climate change, for example, due to climate change, if some changes occur, some of the species which are sleeper till now may become, uh, can attain the status of. So all aliens should be viewed seriously, whether it is not posing a problem currently, but the threat is there. So this is already, the agronomists, everybody know the troublesome plants are designated as weeds. And in the case of noxious, the special threat is importance is that it is injurious to public health, crops, livestock, and other property. And invasive weeds that have potential to spread rapidly. So by definition, for the academic sake of interest, there is a narrow definition, changes in the definition of this. And these are the weediness. With this, you have already studied what are the characteristics that a plant have to become a weed, to attain weed status. One is especially its reproductive status, where it profusely produces seeds of variable dormancy or long dormancy period, and with a very efficient dispersal mechanism and good adaptability and good vegetative growth. And some of them produce allopathic chemicals which help them to survive without the presence of other. It will lead to the chemicals will lead to the reduced growth of the accompanying species. And the natural enemies, absence of natural enemies is an advantage for them, and that is why biological control of introduction of pests from the native, from their native origin area is of importance. So we have some examples of successful classical biological control. You see how much this, some of the weeds like Merimia vitifolia uh, curtails the sunlight as well as the sunlight and availability of other growth factors to the. So in the case of history of weed invasions in India, these are some of the major weeds like Parthenium. And you can say that South America or tropical America is of the total introductions, 50% of the, more than 50% or 55% is from South America. So all these are Parthenium, Lantana, Mycenia, Eichhornia, and Salvinia are from South America or tropical America. And you know that the Parthenium is through wheat import. Lantana was introduced as ornamental, and Mycenia during the World War II for camouflaging the army field, and Eichhornia is for ornamental purpose, and Salvinia accidental it seems, and it's not yet established. So actually it was the Salvinia molesta was taken to the Royal Botanical Gardens of Calcutta in 1933. It was first introduced to Royal Botanical Gardens for the botanical garden, and later it was taken to Sri Lanka for research. And from there, it reached Kerala. Actually, the route is not yet confirmed, and some because Sri Lanka is very close in the sea, through water it might have come, or as a packing material, because there are reports of Salvinia as a packing material for fish. And even in Kaki Dam in Idukki district, the presence of Salvinia was reported earlier. And the first authorized report was in 1955 in Merli Lake in Trivandrum. And within 10 years of this report, it attained the invasive status. So within that short span of time, this particular fern, which is considered as a horticultural hybrid, because it seems for ornamental purpose, because other species of Salvinia are not present here, and this species has hybrid vigor, and it has no sexual reproductive methods, and it ramifies through the ramets or vegetative propagule, and it is assumed that it is believed that it is a horticultural hybrid for ornamental purpose. This is the study area where we have worked in the control of salvinia in rice system, because as we know in the aquatic systems no herbicides are recommended. Though 2,4-D is having some label claim in aquatic, it's not recommended, and no herbicides in India are registered for use in aquatic body. But salvinia, when present in a rice ecosystem, we can use some of the herbicides for rice. That was our research. So those herbicides with the label claim in rice was tried in salvinia control, and we have now herbicides screened for salvinia control. That I will explain that some of the recent combination herbicides are very effective, but the thing is that this fern is having a very peculiar water repellent mechanism. The microscopic view of the fern leaves, the upper surface of the leaf, you can see the egg beater shaped bristles or papillae. The egg beater shaped bristles are giving this water repellency property. So even if you plow the land, plow a wetland field with salvinia infestation using a tractor, you can see. So otherwise, total inefficiency of the herbicide. 90% of the herbicide is wasted if you do not use a sticker or adjuvant. That is the thing. Then this is the diagrammatic representation of a floating island formation in salvinia. You see, if salvinia is growth is not controlled in an aquatic water body, you take the case of a pond, farm pond, where salvinia infestation is there, and if a farmer is not taking care of the growth for years, then what will happen? The salvinia, this is the first stage of infestation. The salvinia, small, the vegetative propagules are growing, and later it completely covers the ground, which is known as the mat stage. Then you can see when the population increases, the frilling, it will, the leaves are arranged so that tightly arranged frills like, and it will form a tight mat on the water body. Then in the next phase, some of the annuals will colonize over the salvinia. Some of the annual grasses and even dicots will colonize over the salvinia. And then what happened? The seeding of these plants will happen. Then the population of them increases, and all the organic matter debris of the salvinia again, all are added to the this water body, and a floating island formation will result, and the transpiration and evaporation losses are so high that a marshy lake, not at all a water body. It will be a useless water body, and all the aquatic fauna are removed from the system because of poor oxygen availability, poor light availability. So this is a serious case. If this, you can see this is a pond in Thrissur district near our university campus. The salvinia mat, this is some 4 years unattended. So now this has been cleaned. We have intervened, and because this was serving as a water body for the paddy there. So this has been cleaned with the help of the panchayat. So this is the case of Iconia introduction to Kerala. It was reported in 1896, and this, you know that it is a very serious menace. It is called lilac devil, very beautiful flowers, and indeed because of the flowers only it reached here. And this plant is a good phytoremediator also. This plant is a good phytoremediator. Phytoremediation means use of plants to remove heavy metals from the system, aquatic system. So whenever you see this plant, this is an indication of the water pollution also. Salvinia you can see only in the fresh water. It's a freshwater fern. You will not find it in polluted bodies. But in Alapi district and other areas where the problem is this Iconia is problem is severe, you can see there will be surely some pollutants in the water. So the first step in Iconia management should be the pollution control actually. Usually the pollution is of two types, point solution pollution and non-point pollution. So all the waste which are generated from some other, say it be some shopping complex or some other area, will find its way through the channels, isn't it? To the water bodies or to the wetland systems which are low lying. And this makes an ideal condition for such weeds to proliferate because it is the nature's mechanism to clean water. The nature itself has some, in nature everything is having its own role. So this plant is having. So there are many reports of use of this plant to remediate polluted because it accumulates heavy metals. And this is the case of Cromolina, 1940s. And it was a very serious weed in coconut, rubber, cashew, and pepper. But now there are many other species, invasive species, which has occupied the, and this is known as communist pacha in Kerala. Pacha means green. Communist pacha in Kerala because it is spread when the communism was also spread in Kerala. That is why it was named as communist pacha. But we have Congress pacha also. This is Mycenia. It was first reported in 68. It has allopathic effect, and Mycenia micrantha belong to the Compositae family, profuse seed producer, which is distributed through wind. And you can see even Mycenia seedlings on the terraces or even buildings because the seeds reach their excellent adaptability, and it's a main threat to forest ecosystem also. It's purely in upland, and it is called Dhritarashtra Pacha in Malayalam. You might have heard of Dhritarashtra Alinganam. Dhritarashtra, when he embraced Bhima, isn't it? So, like that, it will curtail the nutrients and even air and light, so that the plant on which this is climbing will eventually die. That is why you might have heard of the story. For when Dhritarashtra came to embrace Bhima, a statue, iron statue of Bhima was given by the god. Otherwise, he know that that embrace itself can kill Bhima. Okay, so that was the story. So this plant has allopathic effect also. And interestingly, you see this is a profuse flower producer. And this is a good source of honey for honeybees. It's a good source of honey. So it has some other implication in our Kerala Forest Research Institute, PG, has reported that because of a prolific supply of this honey and pollen, the honeybees are depending on, if Mycenia is there, the most of the population of honeybees will depend on this weed, eventually affecting pollination of other forest species. Okay, and honeybees has their role to play. Even these invasive species can affect the role of honeybee and eventually can lead to the decrease in population of the forest species, apart from the direct threat this species pose. Okay, so that is our welcome to my copy. That copy I KU, this TNAU center. How it climbs and establishes and flowers, profuse flowering. Okay, so this is Singapore daisy, and this is included in the 100 worst invasive species as per the IUCN list. And this again was introduced as an ornamental, and this plant is a very difficult to remove plant because of its very good resistance to even the strongest herbicides are not effective. You see, this is a weed which establishes mainly in the lowland. You can see the vast stretches of paddy field kept barren, fallow, In Kerala, this is a usual scene, and you see in a paddy land, rubber has been planted. Rubber has been planted, but the productivity of this rubber will be very low because of it's not an ideal condition for rubber. Ultimately, what happens when a part of the land is planted with rubber, the farmers in this area is unable to cultivate rice because water management is affected. In paddy, the land conversion is a very big problem in our state, and those who want to cultivate will not be able to cultivate because in paddy we have to have good water management. At the time of planting, for land preparation, you have to let in water. At the time of planting, water has to be drained out. Again, whenever needed, that movement of water is very important. If that passage is blocked, the land is useless. So when uncultivated, this makes an ideal condition for all such aliens to multiply. And though it looks very beautiful to us, the implications are very. So whenever we find such areas, all these are photographed during our field visits of ACRP. So this was taken in 22 November. Still, last month also, when you see, this is a photograph from our own college garden, ornamental as ornamental. And see, even this is trying to mask the hedge line of this nether ornamental. And anyway, we have come up with a chemical recommendation for this particular weed in fallow, not in cultivated, because in fallow lands it can be managed by some herbicides, and even a paper is published. And this is lantana, and this is a very important weed in many other Indian states in forest ecosystem. Last year when we went to the ICRP, that biennial workshop ISWS, I happened to meet a forest person from forest department, and they say they are posing very severe threat with this species, leading to the biodiversity loss of the forest in Jharkhand and all. So this is, again, it was introduced to Calcutta Botanical Garden, and it was reported in Malabar area in Kerala in 1872, and it is one of the most top 100 invasive, included in the 100 invasive, and it is can be found in plantations and also in non-cropped areas. And Parthenium, it is a carrot grass. I said congress grass. It is also called congress grass. And again, it was introduced through, I already mentioned, wheat import during the famine season. And in India, Karnataka has reported as a noxious weed as per the Agriculture Pest and Disease Act of 1968. This is from Palakkad district, the district sharing boundary with the Tamil Nadu. So where the climate is arid, dry. So the Parthenium is a weed which prefers arid climate. So its population is high in arid tract, Irthambadi area of Palakkad district, and in Wayanad in Karnataka, in Kerala, in the border districts of Tamil Nadu with Coimbatore border, and even Karnataka border in Wayanad, and in Idukki, the border sharing the Tamil Nadu, or Parthenium infestation is more. But nowadays we have reported in many other districts where through the transport it has been a problem. This is a photograph which takes last year when Parthenium Awareness Week. We took the students to Palakkad border because its vast areas are affected. This is a Mimosa diplotrica or invisa during my PhD. Now Viva also I was asking which is a weed with a high mimosin content. So the student was unable to answer. Probably this is not a problem in Tamil Nadu, but in Kerala it is a very severe problem. In roadside and all you can see. So in Mimosa diplotrica or Mimosa invisa, there are two types. One with one is a spiny morphotype with a lot of spines, and there is a non-spiny biotype also. Actually, it was introduced as a green manure plant, but it without the spine, though that without the spine, but the both are highly invasive, and the problem is seed production is very profuse. So this is a study done in KU in 2005 as a part of their PhD work under the guidance of Dr. C.T. Abraham, the S12 PI, how this mimosine content of the different plant parts of Mimosa invicea affect the rabbit. Alopecia followed by death. Alopecia means this, see the skin uh, of the hairs and the skin are lost. So you see that mimosine content is very high in immature leaves, followed by leaf and stem, flower, and seeds having the lowest content. So usually the immature leaves and stems are consumed by the animals, which can lead to mimosine toxicity and death of animals. So in grazing lands also, parthenium and such weeds are very a threat to animal health. And parthenium is also a very serious allergic plant, allergens that produce. And this is Myremia vitifolia, profuse growth. You can see everywhere in Kerala. You see the plant rarely produces seeds. It's belong to Hypomeaceae family. Hypomeaceae is a very important family, morning glories. Many ornamentals are there. And you can see the plant produces seeds and flowers under stressed conditions. In highly, in summer, in some dry lands only you can see. Otherwise, it propagates its own by vegetative means and no natural enemies. And this is the story of pink bloom reported in Kerala in 2020 in Calicut district in Kerala, where this attracted many people to visit that Perambra area of Kozhikode to see this pink bloom of Kabomba furcata. So this is a totally submerged aquatic plant. The others we discussed, Salvinia and Eichhornia, are floating aquatic weeds. This is a completely submerged plant. Its leaves are inside the water, and you see these are some special floating mechanism of the plant, so for keeping the flowers outside the water level. See how much adaptations all these plants, very beautiful. But this was in Kerala from years before, but this profuse blooming was reported in 2020, and recently last year in our cold lands also profuse blooming. So because of its furcate or fork-like leaves, its term is furcata. And you see all these types of alternatives. These are Ponnangan nichira or kirei in Tamil. There are many species which are utilized as food. And these are some of the, you see in this genera, this phylloxeroides is termed as alligator weed. This is mainly in aquatic systems. It is called alligator because it, like an alligator, it uh, favors or it likes water body. However, it is an amphibian. It can come up in other land also. And it rarely flowers. And vegetative propagation is the main method of, it produces solitary flowers. But see this alternanthera, it's Betsickiana, profuse flowering. All these are Amaranthaceae. You can see the characteristic of our family Amaranthaceae. They are good seed producers. Very small seeds. So this is an ornamental type. Brasiliana. In the earlier picture also you see the violet. This is Alternanthera brasiliana. Not as invasive as, but in some areas the invasive nature is reported. So this is very serious threat to upland crops, vegetables and other. This is a black pepper field in KU campus infested with Alternanthera vetsicana. And this is chocolate weed. You might be familiar with the melokia. It has some color, that is why chocolate weed, no taste of chocolate. And this is the peculiarity, this is in rice system. You see that most of these weeds can germinate when there is no water. For example, I said in rice cultivation, we keep a standing water column of rice, mainly standing water column, mainly to prevent weed growth. That water management practice, a eco-friendly measure of managing weeds, isn't it? So you take the case of transplanted paddy, where it is almost good weed control is achieved if the plant is planted at an optimal spacing, followed by keeping a water column uh, of 5 centimeter or below that during the later period, because water itself will prevent the germination of many weed seeds. So all the weeds which we find in our rice system also germinate when there is no water. But further growth is assured even in a aquatic system. Okay. So even our VD rice, which is a menace, the germination can be prevented if there is a water layer. So this melokia also, in rice it is a problem where water management is not proper, because once established it can thrive under a standing water body. But for germination, water column will prevent the germination. A water standing water will prevent germination. And actually, this was also introduced. It was not in Kerala till recent many years back. Probably through some seeds of pulses it came. So this is an Ipomia species, Ipomia aquatica, which maybe you might have seen in cold lands. It's a especially during the water fallow period. Water fallow means, before I said the cultivation, there will be a fallow period where the area is inundated with water. So you see heaps of the weed being removed and kept in the, you can see such heaps in cold lands at the time of preparatory cultivation. So this is another gramineous plant, Rhodbosella cochin chinensis, which is a, this was taken near the FCO go down. So such weeds mainly come through transport. This is the seeds of the inflorescence is like any other graminea, but these are the seeds enlarged. See, this is a sedge which has invaded fallow land. See the height up to my hand. This is up to my hand length. This is, so this is a sedge known as Actinocerpus grossus. You see how the, it's rhizome. See the rhizome. So this, like our Cyprus rotundus, will put forth new growth from the rhizome, and even see, but seeds are not required for, because rhizome itself will take care of its propagation. Very difficult to remove. The main, you see the field, we intervened there and we gave under Atma project, gave some funding also to clear some area as a mod, because it's entire area affected. The main problem is years of fallowing. Years of fallowing. So ideal condition of water is there. And the very low lying area where almost throughout the year there is water. Actually, it was paddy land earlier. But now nobody is cultivating rice. So the fields are kept fallow, and the problem, and actually mechanical removal is only option at this stage, followed by some 2,4-D application if rice is cultivated. Though there is technology, it's very difficult to practice it due to economic concerns. And this is, in Malayalam, it is called Manyakolavada or Nagapola, yellow flowered. This is Limnocaris flava. Unlike in the case of other Kolavada or Iconia crassipa, this will not be found in area aquatic water bodies. This is in marshy lands and wetlands. See, this is a rice crop nearing harvest. See the fate of a rice field. Nearing harvest, you can see the plants, rice plants, uh, uh, very pathetic situation. You cannot use a machinery there also because the leaves of these limnocaris also will be along with the rice panicle it will be. So when it is harvested in a combined harvester, what happens? This is crushed. This leafy material is crushed and the grain quality is lost. So this was an unattended field we should, because we have some technologies, herbicidal management measures for limnocaris. But you see the timely management is very important. And you see the flowers. This is mostly propagated by seeds, though it can ramify through some the suckers. The main propagule is a seed. So see, all these are flowers, all these. So a single plant produces thousands of flowers, and the seeds remain dormant in the rice field. So during the fallow period, farmers are allowing this to grow, and this will profusely flower, and the seeds are deposited, and there is a good seed bank. So for the coming season, this is a major weed. So the timely, even in the during the uncultivated period, we should use some measure, either herbicidal or mechanical, to remove it and see that it's not flowering. So in UG we teach students 1 year seeding is 7 years weeding. That's the saying in English. 1 year seeding is 7 years of weeding. It's applicable to especially to this weed. So in the two leaf stage, when it is seedling, you can see this type of small two leaves. Seedlings are like that. At that stage, if you spray a herbicide like corion or pinoxylam plus butachlor, or our tinoxylam plus cyhalofob, along with a sticker. Here also the leaves are very uh, cuticle or maxi. So you can control in the two leaf stage. And there can be a follow-up application also in patches where this is very severe. Uh, so most of the time, either timely spraying is not given or spraying is improper, so that many plants escape. And these are not very actually serious. The typha is not a very serious weed in cultivated system. It's actually a good plant. This typha is restricted to, you might have seen in some wetlands, typha species, just to introduce you. So this is a case of the Mucuna bracteata is a very good cover crop, a cover crop turning invasive. Mucuna bracteata was introduced for the rubber plantation. Rubber plantation as a cover crop, it has perennial nature, and if invaded in other lands, you see, like the plant, the harvesting operations, everything is hindered by the. So this is an unattended coconut garden. See, you can see the university library here. This is very near to our campus, just near the gate. See, these are some of the examples of some of the recent innovations that we are concentrating on managing. This group of weeds, that is aquatic weeds, because in Kerala, you know that we are blessed with a lot of aquatic bodies, and along with that, blessed with such weeds also. But the incidence of such weeds, we actually from 2020 onwards, after I took charge as PI in 2020, we are on this weed. Because the first week of my joining as a PA in ACRP weed control, a call came from a nearby temple, Mudikot Shiva temple, where this is the photograph of the temple. This temple is completely infested. They said it is completely infested with a particular weed. And every year they are trying to remove it, thousands of rupees. They said about 30,000 rupees are spent every year to remove, because the devotees are not able to enter the pond, because it will entangle between the legs. You cannot swim. The value of the aquatic system is lost. So we found that this is infested with the weed hydrilla. She was my research assistant, technical assistant during that period, Jean and our labor, and we collected samples and we tried some tank trials, followed by the application in this, and this is still a successful example of our intervention. Now the pond is clean. Now with a very simple technology of liming. Very simple technology of liming. But nobody was aware of that technology. So now, even now, so I have a VIP treatment when I go to the temple. And the last month, from that temple, a person came with a bucket full of poison. Okay, so when our technology is benefited, we also very happy, isn't it, to see that. So it was one of our first, so because of blessings from God, probably we could demonstrate, and it was like incidental, but we didn't even expect that much success, but this we have tried in other 3 water bodies also. The problem is that when the water body is very huge, our technology is difficult, very huge, because tons of lime we have to. Even here we have used a very good quantity of lime as 2 doses, in 2 doses, and in another big pond in Alatur, what we did was the panchayat was clearing in summer. The panchayat, with the help of the panchayat fund, they drained the entire pond, acres, 2 acres, and they cleaned everything clean. At that time, we intervened and we recommended a good quantity of lime application before the water level increased. So in summer, there was only very good water came after the removal of all. So at that stage, we applied lime. At that, so little quantity is enough, not very little, but because the entire length was applied, but we could considerably reduce almost that big pond is also now uh, the free of the submerged way. So when this, in many cases, this is a temple pond, not cultivated, not used for cultivation, but in farm ponds, when there is infestation, along with the water, irrigation water, it reaches the cultivated field also. And this you see, this you may be knowing utricularia. Utricularia is a weed in, this is a submerged aquatic weed, but found in rice also. But hydrilla is not usually found in, it requires some more deep water body. But utricularia require only less water, so it can be an invader in rice. And also Naja species also, it also require less water. It also is reported in many rice fields, but not hydrilla. And we have successfully managed. See, this is another, this plant is very familiar to you as an aquarium plant, Vallisneria. See, have you seen? Yes, this is a very common plant in aquariums. So you see, this can, weeds have usually plasticity, isn't it? Plasticity, that according to the situation, it will alter its growth habit, isn't it? So if there is a stress, it can remain as a small plant. If there is good supply of nutrients, good growth. So like that, if there is good water column, this will increase in Malayalam, farmers have given the name as Talayati Pulle. Tala Ati Pulle means head. So along with the water, the Vallisneria leaves also dance like this. In aquarium also, in small water movement, it's very beautiful to see. So in rice plant, it has reduced its height. It has reduced its height to, so because the water level is less. Okay. So here, majority of cases, what is happening, the wider spacing, the agronomic practice practices are important. Wider spacing invites all these problems because sufficient light for others. So later in the growth stage of rice, if the canopy closes, you cannot get such problem. So even here, this is a very important case of very thick mat. But in most of the cases, the mat is not very thick. In such case, I have seen the competition is not so severe and not seriously affecting yield. But farmers are very concerned. They say that this plant is utilizing all the fertilizer that we apply. So we have to remove it from the system. Actually, as far as my knowledge, you can see, you search any international literature. This Vallisneria is a plant which is a indicator of good ecosystem. It's an ecosystem indicator of fresh and clean ecosystem. So, and there are some efforts in some other parts of the world where this introducing Vallisneria in some ecosystems where its population has been lost. So it's a good ecosystem indicator. You see this plant is again seed. What you see here, see this long, this is a capsule. This is a capsule. This is the flower. You see here the seed set has been occurred. There was a flower here, small white thing, and this is the capsule inside which you can see so many minute seeds. So seed is the propagule. Seed is the propagule. So, and through water, the seeds can float in water. Seeds can, you will not identify it as a capsule. That's only very close examination can reveal that it is the seed, fruit, not a seed, fruit of the plant, inside which you can see, get many seeds through which the plant and the pollination takes, the flowers are kept just over the water for pollination. Flowers are, though very delicate, they are kept above the water level and pollination is through the water. And our herbicides like 2,4-D are very effective. We have done trials as part of our work. And many sedges are also invading our system. Many sedge invaders. Actually, we are also unable to identify many of them because new types are occurring. This we have identified as Rhynchospora corymbosa. And see, this is Cyprus digitatus, now becoming a problem. Earlier, it was restricted to only buns in cold lands, but in uncultivated period, it has now entered the main field. And by the next season, it will be again weird, like Cyprus irianda, because the sedges have adaptability to thrive in waterlogged situation also. This is Cyprus javanicus. It's not a rice weed. It is an indicator of saline water intrusion. Javanicus is usually seen in areas where salinity, saline water intrude in high tide time. So this is actually, it was years before, some 40 or 50 years before, this area was under rice, later converted into coconut. And now there are trenches in between. You might have seen coconut plantation with trenches. In trenches, water will be there because typically lowland. So in such a coconut garden, this Cyprus javanicus was found to. So this is invasion of Clerodendron indicum from a field near. So this has been mainly due to the improper management. So improper management also can help the plant to survey, because here what the farmer did is, this is a very deep rooted plant. This is the common species which we found, Clerodendron unfortunatum. I don't know whether it is common here. Peruvelum, in Malayalam it is called peruvelum, and this is another species of this indigenous species, indicum. where it's very deep rooted, and this farmer, what he used to do, he used to uproot and again put in the basin. So all the coconut basins are severely affected by this particular plant. So actually it should have been disposed in a proper way, because from the deep roots, its suckers again arise. This I have already discussed. Syngonium. See how it clasps a tree trunk. So though it seems epiphytic, epiphyte means it is not parasite. It climbs on the tree for a support. But the rubber farmers claim that if this plant is there, one thing is that a tapping is very difficult. If this tapping area is also weed is there, it is very difficult. And here, even in the ground, it is difficult. And when this plant is there, they claim that rubber latex yield is reduced. Probably some moisture is also lost. So you can see that even if I destroy this, if a plant is infested like this, if I remove the underground growth, still it will survive. Still it will survive because its growth is also through aerial nutrition. It has no change in its further growth. Such amazing survival capacity. Even if you remove all part from this height, if I remove everything, and the plant will continue its growth upstairs. Okay, so apart from soil, it is taking nutrition from air and probably from the host also. Okay, so it's very, this is our case of another problem in humid areas in Kerala where dragon scale fern. See, it's like a dragon's scale, isn't it? This is called Pyrosia pilocelloides. Its common English name is dragon scale fern because it resembles the scales of a dragon. And see, we have reported more than 10 hosts for this epiphytic fern, and till now the exact mechanism of parasitism is not revealed. Even in all international literature, because though it is epiphytic, it is hemiparasitic. And the major economic crop of spice crop of Kerala, nutmeg is infested with this. That is where we intervened. So we could see that in many plants, this epiphytic fern is not posing any threat. But nutmeg is very sensitive. In nutmeg, it leads to shrinking of the fruit and the death of small ticks, loss in leaf, dropping of leaf fall, etc. And it's very difficult to control, not only because of the its resistance to all sorts of herbicide, but also due to the fact that it is found only in the upper layers, upper story of the tree, where one cannot climb and remove. Its removal is very difficult. Also, reaching there itself is a very Herculean task, and removal is not at all. And being fern, it produces sporocarps. The spores are airborne, air through air. So you can see this attack of the fern only at a particular canopy level. From lower heights, even you will not identify that there is a parasite there. Now we are familiar with, so we will easily identify. Okay, but another person, if I ask and find out whether there is any, because such is the, it's just like camouflaging. You cannot differentiate. The farmers reported it because of the loss in, they noted it later. Okay, and even in tea, coconut, all sorts of tree crops, even neem and jack, mango, teak, uh, anjali, but many plants we have, many trees we have, but not of serious nature. This is a typical example of a native plant becoming the status of an invasive species. Xanthium strumarium is not an alien. It is our own weed. It's an indigenous species, and it's also a medicinal plant. And this weed in a forest reserve, Chimney Forest Reserve, very near to the, there's a water body also, Chimney Dam. So near to that, it is in the forest reserve area. So this weed, see, these are the fruits with spine-like. This is the flower. See, this is again Asteraceae family. This is the small flowers. This is the seed germinating, and through because being a irrigation project, through the water which is in the catchment area, in the dam area itself, when water recedes, the plants germinated. When water in the summer, and it occupied the entire area, so that even the grazing of wild animals were affected. So this is a photograph taken by the Kerala Forest Department. They gave us this when we visited because at that time this much a lot of portion was cleared by the time we intervened, because in forest reserve you cannot do any chemical control. Only manual removal is. So with the help of NSS volunteers from many colleges, they could clear a lot of area, and they showed us what was the situation before. And we could see that even the uprooted plants were actually should have been, even composting is not enough, it seems, because the seeds are very hard. And in the literature it is seen that every seed has two seeds, and the mechanism of the plant is such that one seed will immediately germinate. The other seed it preserves for a later date when favorable condition. So within a fruit, two seeds of variable dormancy. So such is the mechanism of, so if you go in depth to different plant, its botany, it's really interesting. The wonders of nature. So this, you may be familiar, Cuscuta. Have you seen? No. Is it a problem here? Yes, sir. So it was not a problem in Kerala. Now it's again some new weeds are. It was not at all a problem. It was years before it was there. And see, this is the hostoria, a close-up of the hostorial connection. And even we have last ACRP meet, we have presented the a very innovative measure for control of Cuscuta in hardy crops or in uncultivated area by simple spray of urea. Okay, so it's very sensitive to urea application. So this is Cyprus rotundus. You just for your interest sake, it's a very important weed. And this are some of the photographs only. I think with this I will complete my presentation. Okay. Thank you very much. This is a major problem of weedy rice still to be tackled. All these are familiar to you. You have seen this? This you should be aware, because most of these aquatic species now available in Amazon and other online stores and free trade. What is the ultimate effect? This is a photograph which we took from a nursery where they have kept it for sale, and this from the internet. See, 35 rupees. This is a weed. But see what beautiful leaf arrangement. So management, I think you know all the management aspect, and it is late. All this we have studied in from UG. What are the this applicable to all weeds, not only to invasive, all the weeds. Actually, we should keep some boards like this wherever. So in the Kaboba infested area, all people visiting this, to see the pink bloom was taking some weeds to their home. Kabomba. So we asked the panchayat to see that people are not taking the weed. They can see the proper, so this is a list of quarantine weeds as of 2003. And this is the inspection being carried out in quarantine centers. Some of you will get appointment as this. One of my earlier student is working. He only gave me this photograph. Trivandrum Plant Quarantine Station. So this is the manual removal. This is eradication. I said no. Sandhyam in chimney area. You can see the dam in the background. Volunteers and forest staff clearing vast stretches of Scandium. This is my own first year UG students. Last year, Parthenium, one classical example of or success story of KU in Salvinia control, the classical biological control agent of Streptococcus salvini. But however, now this weevil has not, I think, this messy. This is a photo given by my earlier PI, Dr. C.T. Abraham. This is the photograph of the water body before release and 14 months after release in 84-85. While I was studying UG, he was my teacher for weed control. Okay. So see, his father. And the same Dr. Roy, who was entomologist, was, you can see his reference if you was entomologist behind this, and he was keen on taking this picture. See how he has taken at that time when cameras were not very same position, same man. See, beautiful picture. So it's a very rare picture from the same site 14 months later. So his idea was very good, isn't it? See how clean the water body became. But nowadays, we are not getting such control because Salvinia is there. The biocontrol agent is also there. Wherever in Kerala you see sample the Salvinia, you can see this weevil. This is the Neocytina iconia and Oligotrichus terebrindis attack in Iconia. This I said, this is again a gall fly, which Cecidocaris connexa. Cecidocaris connexa, still there, even in KU campus. Very few plants of Chromolina, but you can invariably see in all plants this pest. So the problem is not very severe. So that is regarding the various weeds. So invasive weeds in short. So thank you very much for your keen interest, and could see that all the students are very attentive even at this late hours. Okay. So thank you all.